So in my class, we had been talking about making a mandala and setting up the 12-sided pattern. And then we would make various circle sizes. And I want to go over a few tips and tricks of things you could do with the compass as you're creating your mandala or you're repeating patterns. So we know that a mandala might have repeating patterns. Let me make one more smaller circle. For example, we could repeat really about pretty much anything. I could even draw here, if I wanted to, a star, and of course I would probably use a ruler. So as we begin to just experiment, sometimes what I like to do too is draw a smaller one and give it some thickness. So I would typically measure and use a ruler to make sure it was pretty accurate, but just to give you a quick idea of something you could do. We may also do a repeating pattern like this around. So there's a variety of patterns, but I want to take a look at things we can do with our compass. So one of the things we can do with our compass is we could make petals. And these intersecting spots are there to play around with. So let's say I want to make a petal, a flower petal. Let's say I wanted to make it right here. Well, if I put the compass down here, it's going to make a pretty wide looking petal. You can kind of see it. So I can move it up instead and just play around with the different possibilities. So as I move it up, it becomes a little bit taller, less wide. So I'm going to go on this spot and this spot and then continue that around. Do it again here and here. Do it again here. Oops. So sometimes you'll even forget which circle you're using, which ring here or here. And you can just put it back to this last one you did to make sure. So that's one possibility of things you could do, is you could do a repeating petals going around. Another thing you can do is you can give it some thickness. So I'm going to go back to the spot that I put the compass, and I'm going to just close it a little bit. And you're going to see some thickness. And we could draw lines in there, we could fill it in with color, we could draw dots in there. Let me do one a little bit more thick. You could make them even thicker. So another thing we might do is drawing a circle. So maybe, let's say I add another circle here. I'm going to put my compass here, and I'm going to make a little circle. Well, really I would want to find the center. That's a little bit off center. So maybe we want to draw these little tubes or circles. And again, normally I would find the center with the compass or with the ruler. We can of course space out. We can space out the leaves or petals. Let's do another one here. And instead of doing them right next to each other, we can skip and do every other one. Oops, did I go here? Yes, it was here. So then maybe in between these petals, I'll do that round circle. And again, we can close the compass and add some thickness to it. So this again gives us just a little bit of an option here when we want to add some patterns to our mandala using a compass, especially if you're like me and you're not good at freehand. We got the petal leaves, we've got little archways. So you can try different things. Another one I'll sometimes do, let's say I want to make a leaf pattern. What I'll actually do is I'll draw a semicircle or part of a circle, and then I'll pick an amount. So with this ruler, let's say I'm going to go two spaces to the right, 2 spaces to the left. So I'll lower this. I'll go 3 spaces. So if I line it up, let me do it here. 1 space, 2 space, 3 spaces. And say here and here, I can sort of trace and make it go into a different sort of petal, because some people can do these freehand and I really have trouble with them. So I've found that using the compass this way can help me to do it more easily. Let me show you that again. So let's say I have this and I want to make a petal like this. To make it more even, I can go 1, 2, 3 spaces here and here, and as the curve touches that space, I can start to go up and sort of repeat that on the other side. So that's some of the basic tips, and I'll leave an example of a mandala that I created using a few of these techniques. But hopefully you learned something useful and you can pass it along and share some things you've learned in the comments.